Hi, I'm Christian Stevenson, and today we are going to talk a little bit about science and how science can feed the imagination. Imagination is the theme for your library summer reading program, and I think that having an imagination when we look at the world around us is really important and allows us to come up with ways where we can test things and experiment and try to understand just everything about our physical world just a little bit better. One of the things that I think is really interesting, and I hope you'll join me with, is there are just some really interesting things that we can find if we look around. This is a metal called bismuth. And like all of the metals that we know about, like iron and copper, things like that, it's going to be, of course, it's very hard. And one of the things that's really particular about metals is how they move electrons around. But what's really interesting to me about bismuth is to melt iron, you have to get it really, really hot. To melt bismuth, you can actually do that right here on a little stovetop. So we're going to melt some bismuth and a little bit more bismuth, and once we do that, we can show you something really interesting about this metal that I think you might find really entertaining. Ooh, that's a little heavy. So we're going to start off. You can see how shiny this is. It's got that really nice silver color to it. And down here in the little pot I have, and if you're ever going to try this at home, you want to make sure you're going to do this with a pot you never need to do anything else with again, because I don't think that this pot is going to be very good. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to get all the bismuth back out of it. But you can see I've already got some bismuth that I have been melting in there. You can see that really nice silver color. And if you wait just a second, and we move some of this other stuff away, you see that wonderful silver color, and then you start to see all that purple show up. That's pretty cool, isn't it? So that purple is the reaction of the bismuth with the air. So there's oxygen in the air, that's what we're breathing in, and having that oxygen react with the bismuth gives us that really fantastic purple color. So we're going to show you how fast this stuff melts. And it may take just a second because this is a pretty big chunk, but I want us to just take some time together. We're going to see it start to melt pretty quickly. I'm going to turn up the heat and let's give it a go. Don't try this at home. And see how it's starting to get a little different shape as it starts to melt down. And it helps if we move it around a little bit. I don't think my tongs are going to make it either. It helps if I stay all the way on the heat. Oh, you can hear it spitting. It's starting to get mad. We're going to take a little bit of a break. I'm going to come back with another video. We're going to melt all of this, and then I'm going to show you something else that's really cool about this metal. Alright, so we're back with melting our bismuth down. And you can see here we have it in our pot. We even had we've got to be careful when you're doing stuff like this. We even had a little bit splash out onto our counter. Unfortunately, it turns back into a solid really quickly, and it wasn't hot enough to damage our countertop. But you can see if we have that, we can just throw that right back in and it goes away really, really quickly because our pan is really, really hot right now. So what we want to do right now, whenever we get a sample of a metal, it's likely that aside from just the metal that we have, there might be some other stuff in that. And so when we melt it down, that stuff is all going to rise to the top. We're going to call that flux. And so we can just kind of take a fork here and we can collect that all off the top. You can see that really beautiful silver color right underneath it. And we just want to get all that stuff off to the side because we're going to throw that away. We're just going to scoop it right out and do our best to collect it. If we miss a little bit, that's okay. And we're just going to keep that right over here. This time I'm putting it on top of something, so we really be careful that we're not damaging our countertop. So now that we've gone and melted our bismuth down, what we are going to do is we're going to let it cool off. And as it cools off, it's going to do something really interesting. So you can see, of course, when it gets up to the top, it's going to get that layer across it. But if you just move that layer across, you can see that beautiful silver color with all those little purples and yellows and golds that are going to show up with the metal. So let's give it just a few minutes and we're going to let that cool. It will take just a few minutes to cool down. And once it does that, we're going to show you something else. So we had our melted down bismuth and we've let it cool down, and we can hopefully show you one of the other really cool things about this metal. So I'm going to move my aluminum foil over here just to protect my countertop, and watch out, these things are still really hot. But bismuth will form really interesting crystals. When we look at them, you can see right there, and I think we've got a really good one to start with. You can see those really fascinating right angles on the crystals. And right as I take it out of the hotter metal, it is going to be really nice and silver. You see how pretty and silver, but really quickly, as it reacts with the oxygen, it's going to take on that fascinating purple, starts gold, and the purple color just moves through it until we wind up with these really interesting crystals. And I think I've been really lucky and wound up with a really neat batch of them.